Welcome to 10,000 Things. This is where two sisters writing and publishing shares with you the 10,000 things you need to know to write, publish, and promote a book. My name is Elizabeth Atkins,
And I'm Catherine Greenspan.
and we are two sisters writing and publishing. Tonight, we're going to ask you the question, what is the connection between a writing community and a book outline? We are going to bridge the gap tonight and share a lot of other really interesting and helpful tips that can help you on your writing journey. So, Catherine, you want to get us started with talking about the writing community?
Yeah, so we created a writing community. It's the Two Sisters Writing Club, and it meets every 3 times a week for 1 hour, and we get together on Zoom. One of our original members said it's like study hall with your friends because you just show up and write. We check in and get any questions answered. It's totally a fun place to be. We show up, we share what we're working on, and then we get writing. And then if any questions about writing or motivation come up during the first 30 minutes, we answer them in the chat. And then we take a break halfway through and check in and see how it's going and if any questions have come up. And then we write for the rest of the hour. And basically, it's like making a writing date with yourself. Was it Julia Cameron who wrote The Artist's Way? And she says to take artist dates. This is like a writer's date where you show up, you put it in your planner at 6 o'clock Pacific every Monday, and you're going to show up and you're going to write. So if all your other writing plans fail, you know you got that 1 hour of writing done.
I love it. I love it. So, being part of a writing community is really important. In fact, I did a video the other day, a show about how important it is to have networking among other writers because you can learn from them and you can get support from them. You can be encouraged. You can lean on their shoulders when necessary. And very importantly, just feel like you're part of something bigger. I have a confession. I'm so excited about my work that I literally stayed up till 6 a.m. Saturday night, and I'm in the Eastern time zone, but Catherine says I'm living on Hawaiian time. She says I'm in the Hawaiian time zone. Huh?
You go to bed at midnight Hawaiian and get up at 8 a.m. Hawaiian. That's okay.
So I stay up all night writing and doing my show and doing all kinds of writing stuff, and I love it. Last night 3 o'clock. Oh my gosh! But what the thing about it is, I'm on Twitter at that time as well, and I discovered there is so much activity with writers on Twitter in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And one of the top hashtags is hashtag writing community. And I'm like, what are all these people doing up in the middle of the night? Well, why am I? Anyway, it's because we love writing, and the silence, the stillness, the darkness of night is just awesome for creativity. So being in that community of writers is like this really wonderful hashtag writers lift, right, Catherine?
Yeah, hashtag writers lift is a big one too.
Yeah.
Where
So
writers lift each other. That's what it is. Writers lifting writers.
yes, it's awesome. So when we join the club, and we have it at 9 o'clock Eastern tonight, and we have people all over the country who join us, and it's just this wonderful place to come together for our common passion for writing. And you can also learn, um, new techniques or new ideas or about different books you should read or different trends in the publishing industry. And Catherine, you recently attended something where you learned some things about writing communities, right?
Well, I was invited to a virtual literary event. My friend John Buckley, who teaches English at the University of Michigan, we actually were English majors together. What, I don't know how many decades ago that was, but he got an MFA in poetry from Michigan, and now he's teaching English there, and it's very exciting. And he is now so he invited me to this event with and he read a short story that he'd written, and there was a poet there as part of the segment, Larissa Svirsky, And her poetry was, the only word I have for her poetry was sublime. I mean, it was so good. And so I got to hang out with other writers last night, and it was great. And it reminded me that I'm in a writing group where the majority of people in the group, it's all women, and everybody's writing a memoir. So it motivated me to start writing one, but I also have nonfiction books that I want to write. And last night reminded me that I have to write short stories. It's like part of my essence to be writing short stories. So part of it is to get motivated and inspired on your own when you hear others. Sorry.
Okay.
When you hear others and in that community, it's so inspiring. I literally felt lifted from listening to John's work and Larissa's work. And it's interesting too, because at the end of the session, there was a Q&A, and someone asked John, they said, did you have the idea for the story first or the character? And I mean, his answer was, it was sort of like not divinely, but like inspired, like the story created its own life. But you can do that with fiction, but can you do that with nonfiction? So that's one thing that you can find out from other writers. What are your thoughts on whether or not that's possible with nonfiction, just to let it free flow?
So, as a book coach and as the author of many books, I believe in outlines. I believe in outlines. I think that just like if you're leaving your house and you're going to a destination, you're going to set your GPS that's going to get you there the most direct route and the most efficient, effective way of navigating safely, directly to get there. So having an outline is imperative, I believe. And you made a very interesting comment earlier that if you just take off and start meandering along every road you come across, you never make it to the destination. So if you're writing a book, you start writing, you're super excited, and then you just get lost in the woods, and then you never finish because you don't know where it's going.
Well, and I think one big part of that is, if you're not a professional writer and you don't write for a living, you write when you can. Every time you come back to your writing, you have to go reorient yourself. And if you, without an outline or some sort of roadmap for your, whatever it is you're writing, how are you going to you know what a lot of people do is they go back to the beginning.
Oh.
And then they start editing the beginning, and then they just keep editing the beginning.
No, I always say that in my book coaching class. I always say, don't succumb to rewrite-itis. You might have the best rewritten 10,000 times chapter 1 ever, but that's not a book. So don't succumb to rewrite-itis. Write the whole thing out, then go back and start editing, which I call literary liposuction. It's where you trim the fat, you tone it, you make it strong and lean and powerful. So outlines are really important. So back in school, nobody liked to have to outline their paper, but the skill that we learned was so important. So anything I write, whether it's an email, a blog post, a script, a screenplay, a book, a short story, a poem, I write an outline, even if it's just bullet points of what I'm going to say or write. That enables me to, first of all, remember what I'm going to write. Secondly, have a structure, a framework to follow. And third, it just gives me confidence and takes the mental gymnastics out of it because I know where I'm going. I know I'm going to start here. I'm going to cover this point. I'm going to cover that point. And what's so funny?
Mental gymnastics.
So that phrase I learned from one of our authors, Dr. Francisco Arredondo, and he is a doctor in Texas, and he coined that phrase, mental gymnastics, and it's awesome because it's when your brain is flipping all over the place and twisting and turning and flying and twirling and it's like it's a lot of energy. So
Mhm.
as a writer, it takes enough energy just to be in that creative zone. So you want to conserve the energy by having an outline.
So if somebody has an outline, like for example, they're in your book coaching course, the 6-month course, so they just start with the outline and then do they revisit it, or does it develop or flow into something else maybe?
That's a great question. And yes, writing can be very fluid. You might get halfway through something and say, I want to shift directions. However, say you write your outline and you're going to stick with it. Here's what I do. And I did it for when I wrote my 400-page memoir, God's Answer is No, Lessons from a Spiritual Life. I wrote my outline and then I copied my outline onto another document. And then I filled it in. But I still had the pristine version of the first outline so I can refer back to it and just have it clean because the rest of it's going to get filled in. And I also am big when I make an outline, the outline actually is in a different color or bold or highlighted yellow. And then I fill it in with black text or blue text or whatever you like to work in. And that way I can distinguish the outline as I'm writing. And therefore I feel super organized because everything is like structured. And so the more detailed an outline you can make from jump, from the beginning, the more confidence, speed, efficiency you're going to enjoy. So, for example, if your chapter 1 is about where and how you were born and what your parents' story was at the time and the conflict happening in the world and how that influenced your story, you're going to outline it in a way that is going to include all those points. And if you have, say, for example, references to historic moments that occurred. So, say, for example, you were just born and Dr. King's assassination occurred, and then there were riots and there was all kinds of unrest and all kinds of uncertainty and anger and sadness. You would have whatever you wrote up about that, like the facts, the date of it, the stories about what was really happening from the research you did in real life, from news sources. Um, so you'd have that all compiled in little nuggets that you would just like be able to weave into your chapter. It's really cool. It's
It's
awesome.
fascinating. That's super cool.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I was just thinking that probably the reason I remember when I learned how to make an outline in elementary school with Roman numerals and then you like indent
Right.
it. I love that. Like that was a seminal part of my learning and I love it. But
Yeah.
I don't outline fiction, which is probably why I like short stories because I can just write a short story and be done with it. I don't have to go back a million times and fill in details. It just pours out of me. I'm done and I walk away and move on to the next. But I want to write a nonfiction book. I've never written a nonfiction book, so I'm enrolling in your book coaching class because I need the guidance.
Oh, awesome.
I'm not going to try and write a nonfiction book as if it's a fiction book and just think it's going to flow. It's not.
No, it's not. It's not. It's so very, very important when you're writing nonfiction to incorporate all those different details. So, for example, nobody was born, if you're writing a memoir, for example, nobody was born in a vacuum. You have to know what was going on in the world, in your family at the time. So, for example, if you're writing your memoir, you're going to have an outline. And first, it doesn't have to be in chronological order. It needs to be in an order that captivates your reader, grabs them by the collar on page 1, and keeps their attention until the end by having awesome high energy writing that jumps up off the page and dances for your reader. Because if you think about it, your flat words on the page are competing with chiming, streaming, dinging, music, flashing on the the multimedia realities of our world. So when you actually sit and read, it takes work. You have to concentrate, decipher, remember what just happened on the other page and at the beginning of the book. It's work. So when you write, you better captivate my attention or I'm not going to read your book. Okay? So the way you do that, is you begin with a bang on page 1. You take the wildest, most shocking thing that happened in your story, your life, put it on page 1, and your reader's going to be like, oh, what? And if it's a life-threatening thing and you wrote a whole book about your life, clearly it didn't take you down. So they're going to want to know, well, how did they survive that? How did they recover? How did they heal? It's exciting. So then in the midst of this outline, you also have to have an outline of the life. So if it's your memoir, you need to make an outline of years and historic events. So for example, if you were born in 1967 in Detroit on July 23rd, what's happening? Insurrection, fire, National Guard, gunfire, death, looting, racial tension, right? So you're being born in the middle of that. And then what if you're mixed race? What if your mother's Black and your father's white and you're born during a racial insurrection? Wow, symbolism, right? So that is part of the story. But secondly, you have to know the timeline of the life. So born in 1967, what else was occurring at that time? The civil rights movement still going on. The Kerner Commission comes out the next year and says, we are moving toward 2 societies, one Black, one white. Well, look at us now, 50 some years later, right? And then Vietnam was still happening. Who was president? What was the climate? What was happening in the world? Cold War, had that started? I don't remember. But anyway, you have to know what all the current events are because they're going to affect your parents' jobs, and your parents' jobs are going to affect how you're brought up and your religious beliefs and all the different factors. So then once you have that yearly outline, you literally write 1967, 1968, 1969, and you write, oh, okay, in 1972, started kindergarten. And then you write all the milestones of the life that you're going to touch on in the story, including when you fell off your bike and broke your leg when you were 6, or including when the neighbor's house next door caught on fire and your parents had to rescue you from your bed and take you across the street in the middle of the night, and now you have a fear of fire. All those things influenced who you became. So those are in the yearly outline. So there's all kinds of mini outlines you can make for the big outline. I could talk all night about this.
All night Hawaiian time too. So you know what else is super exciting?
What?
Our anthologies. So our 2019 contest winners, their analogy is all done. We are just waiting on signatures on all their contracts. Our 2020 winners, I think the only contest that still needs to be judged is the erotica contest from December. And once that's done, all the winners for 2020 will be compiled and we'll put together the anthology 4. And 2021, we're not doing short story contest. We're doing nonfiction, and we're calling it your voice deserves to be heard, and we want to be your platform, your megaphone. We want to publish you in our next anthology. We're looking for the best diverse voices of 2021. So we're looking for stories, essays, narratives, poems, conversations, critiques. It could be a short fiction, a memoir, a dialogue. So the length is 400 to 2,400 words. And we have topics every month. We also have an open category every month. So January, we want to hear from older adults. What's it like to be you right now as someone over 60. So that's one of our topics. The other is we check no boxes. So no, all the open category is open every month. So the other thing that we're doing this year differently is because our erotica short story contest gets so many entries, we decided to publish an erotica only anthology this year. So every month we'll have a call for submissions for erotica short stories between 400 and 2,400 words. And every month we'll have 3 winners. And at the end of the year, we'll compile all 36 winners into an erotica anthology. And if you don't know what erotica is, or you're curious and you're not sure you can do it, or you don't know the difference between pornography and erotica, have no fear. Elizabeth is holding erotica writing workshops beginning on the last Monday of January at
Isn't it
9
Friday?
Eastern. It's a Friday, sorry. The Friday, January 29th at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific
PM.
PM.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did a show the other night on my Boss Up Goddess show about erotica, and I talked about how it doesn't have to be raunchy. It can be very intelligent and it can convey important issues around the enticing moments of lust and passion and love and all that good stuff. So it's a tool. It's an entertaining tool, but it's also a way to convey important ideas. And the submissions that we receive, oh my gosh, they are not just this titillating tangle of limbs. They are really intelligent, provocative stories, some of which don't have very much sexual content at all. So it's very impressive to see how people can create sensual storytelling that's so tasteful and so engaging. And so, please, you are going to love our stories. And that's why we put out this call for writers, because it integrates the many parts of ourselves and it also liberates us, because we shouldn't have to be ashamed of this wonderful part of our world, of our lives, as long as it's tasteful and consensual and positive and enhances all parties involved.
And being former English majors and having a master's in writing and journalism, the quality of the writing is top notch.
Mhm.
We're very discerning when it comes to writing. And if you want to listen to a fun interview, Elizabeth interviewed Wendy Goodman, who's one of our erotica short story winners, and it was just a fun conversation. So you can watch that here on the Two Sisters Writing and Publishing channel.
It was last Monday. Catherine, there's like a rumbly sound on your desk, so something's rumbling around, unless it's your
Hey,
cat
well, it's a good
Max.
time to wrap up then. The wrap up rumble.
You're hilarious. Okay, excellent. So we went from writing groups to book outlines to anthologies to erotica to rumble. Super fun. We're so grateful that you join us here on our channel, and we're so grateful for your subscriptions, that you subscribe to our channel. We're growing very fast and we're contributing lots of information that aims to help you be a better writer and also be well while doing it and also be empowered. So we're all about writing, wellness, and empowerment. We at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing are about to celebrate our 5th year anniversary in business in February of 2021. So, we are going to be making some announcements about how we're going to celebrate and how we're going to invite you to celebrate with us. So, thank you for watching another episode of 10,000 Things That You Need to Know to Write, Publish, and Promote Your Book. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins.
And I'm Catherine Greenspan.
And we hope that you'll subscribe, comment, like, share, and click the notification bell so you know every time we go live or upload a new video here on the Two Sisters Writing and Publishing channel. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So we'll see you next time, and happy reading, happy writing.